So with Toyota Jamboree out of the way and actually having to own this vehicle for a while in its stock form, and after installing the Elka 2.5 DC with reservoirs, I can finally give my impressions on this suspension kit. And I have to say, it's pretty darn good. A good part of it is just the 150 platform and the GX460, and the other has a lot to do with the Elka suspension itself. I came from the 80 series world, the Land Cruisers, and I found that even with the decent suspension, they are still pretty kind of rough, and that's simply just the nature of having a solid axle front end. But when you switch to independent suspension, partnered it up with a good shock system like the Elka 2.5s, everything starts to really elevate. And I found that very quick when I started driving this thing around. As far as everyday driving, having that dual rate, the dual compression adjustments on the actual shock absorber itself has made a massive difference on setting up the comfort for my liking, best set. But I have a tendency to be a little on the aggressive side, and I've kind of tuned my shocks more for barreling through dips and railroad tracks at a high rate of speed. And it's a lot of fun. So another thing to tap in onto the on-road experience is that typically when we used to drive over to Gilmer, Texas, it's about a 3-hour drive. And I'm pretty beat and sore and ready to get out of the vehicle by the time we get there. That wasn't the case on this. It was a nice plush ride the whole entire way. And as soon as we got there, we set up camp and we instantly went and hit the trails instead of taking about an hour break. Now, when it comes to going out in the trails, I went ahead and set my suspension everything to soft, and then I was gonna walk it in and stiffen it up as farther and further I went through the trail, tuning it into my liking. And the first thing that absolutely blew me away and shocked me, and I don't know if it was because I've been so used to having a solid axle front end and switching to independent suspension with some really good shock absorbers, is I couldn't feel anything. Literally, I could not feel a single bit on the road, which was pretty impressive. And as impressive as that was, I remember coming up to a rock that was about this big in height and getting ready to hit it on my passenger side. And I was expecting the good old 80 series jounce as I was approaching an obstacle where it really bounced me up. And the only thing I really felt was a slight tilt in the chassis. It's just a whole different level of comfort that really kind of changed my whole perspective on things. Now, the downside to that is I do a lot of things by feel, so I had to go and actually stiffen up my low speed just a bit more, and then I added 2 clicks in on my high speed, and that gave me a little more feedback from the trail, because I do make a lot of my decisions on braking and lining up my vehicle as to how the terrain feels. I can kind of almost tell when I'm about to drop off a ledge, and that just comes out of experience. But the ability to do that is phenomenal, and I can never go back. Overall, the Elka 2.5 DC with reservoirs is just a phenomenal shock system, and I'm extremely happy with it. And we've been running Elkas in the shop for a good number of years now, and it just was a no-brainer to me to approach them when I decided to buy the GX460. And now that I've actually got to run and use their big boy kits and not just living vicariously after installing them on customers, I'm in trouble because I could never go back to anything less than what this has to offer. So thank you so much for Elka for making a beautiful product and sponsoring this build. So thank you guys so much for watching. And pretty soon I'll have another video coming out on ownership of the GX460 after 6 months and future modifications that we are looking to do to it. So once again, thank you for watching the YouTube videos, the channels, the thingies, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Bye.